Good Wednesday morning and welcome to the Millionaire Mindset Book Club. My name's Rick. We're reading Unlimited Power by Tony Robbins. You know, every morning before I start the book club, I'm always listening to something, just even if it's just a snippet of something on YouTube, right? Some Jim Rohn, Les Brown, Darren Hardy, Brian Tracy, somebody, Anyway, so this morning, Les Brown, and just right before, I was listening to the 10 something, his list of 10 something, and anyway, he's talking about being in sales. And it was like 10 rules of success or something. Number one was believe in yourself. Number two, he said that, and he's quoting from some other lady. He said, it is not our intention to please our customers, right? It is our intention to amaze them, right? To amaze them. So not our intention to make our customers happy, not our intention to please them. Our intention is to amaze them. So amaze them, amaze others today. Distinctions of excellence, right? Chapter 14 of Unlimited Power by Tony Robbins, distinctions of excellence. And he's talking about metaprograms. What are metaprograms? They're like subdomains, right? They're like subdomains. But it's little ways, little programs in our body that make us do what, or in our mind that make us do what we do. So he asks, why is it, or what is it? Why do people react differently? Why do you have two different people react differently to identical messages? Right? Remember, we talked about how people hear what we think we're communicating, but why do people react so differently to the same message? Why do some people see the glass half empty? Some people see it half full. Why does one person hear a message and feel energized and excited and motivated, but somebody else hears it and goes, right? It's in the way that we receive information and process that information, right? I'm a Grant Cardone fan of his message, but not particularly his delivery, right? It's just the way I receive messages. I love what he says. I'm just not real thrilled about the way he says it. And nothing wrong with that, right? Nothing wrong with that. I just receive it different, right? So one person hears it, goes, yay, and the other one goes, right? Or doesn't respond at all, right? If you want to be a master persuader, a master communicator in business and in your personal life, you have to know how to find the right key, right? How to unlock the hearer's ability to hear you, right? Maybe not ability. Maybe that's not the right word. But and here's another thing: when we're talking to multiple people, our message may not resonate with everybody, right? And so and you can't make everybody. You're never going to make everybody happy, right? Tony Robbins says our brain processes information the same way, a lot the way a computer does, right? It takes fantastic amounts of data, organizes it into a configuration that makes sense to the person, to the person. A computer can't do anything without software. Metaprograms, right? What he calls metaprograms operate much the same way in our brain, right? They provide the structure that governs what we pay attention to, how we make sense of the experiences we have, and the direction that those things take us, right? We decide whether something is interesting or whether something is dull, whether something's a potential blessing or a potential threat, right? All human behavior revolves around two things: pleasure and pain, right? The urge to gain pleasure or the urge to avoid pain, right? We will, for the most part, it's kind of a generalization, but for the most part, we will do more to avoid pain than we will to gain pleasure. Right? We will do more, people will do more to avoid pain than they will to gain pleasure. Right? Again, not an absolute, right? Not an absolute. Tony Robbins says everybody either moves towards things or away from things, right? And some things, everybody moves towards some things and away from some things. Nobody responds the same way to each and every stimulus, although everybody has a dominant mode. So you may be that personality type that moves towards things more than moves away from things, right? Some people tend to be energetic, curious risk takers and feel more comfortable moving towards things that excite them. And others tend to be cautious, wary, and protective and see the world as a more perilous place, right? And so to find out whether somebody moves towards things or away from things, he says, ask them what they want in a relationship, a house, a car, a job, or anything else. He said, if they are people that move towards things, they'll tell you what they want. If they move away from things, they'll tell you what they don't want, right? What they don't want. So the first metaprogram, right? That's the first metaprogram, whether you move towards things or away from things, right? The second metaprogram deals with external and internal frames of reference, right? If you ask somebody, how do you know that you did a good job, right? And they tell you, well, my boss would say this, or the people would say this, or do this, or whatever, that's an external frame of reference. Right? It's an external frame of reference. They're getting their feedback from things that happen on the outside, right? Somebody with an internal frame of reference, just knows that they did a good job, right? Sometimes sometimes we're our own worst critics, right? And I will have, I will do a talk, do a class, whatever, and not feel like I did my best, but other people will say, oh, it was great, blah, blah, blah. But if I don't feel it, it's because I'm coming from an internal frame of reference, right? I have a fairly strong internal frame of reference, right? What other people think about me is not my business, right? Although it does concern me some, right? If you don't give me likes, right, it makes me sad, right? But I don't get all my validation. I don't get all my validation from outside, right? You are the only person that knows whether something is positive or negative for you, right? He talks about somebody. He gave a seminar, right? And obviously in his seminars, he's trying to sell his product too, right? And so he gave a seminar and somebody came up to him and said, I'm not convinced. Tony Robbins said, you're the only one that knows whether this makes sense to you or not. The guy was ready for a fight. He's ready for Tony Robbins to try to talk him into whatever. And he didn't do that. You're the only one that knows whether this makes sense for you or not. Right? If you want to buy what I have, you're the only one that knows whether this makes sense to you or not. Right? I may give you what I believe to be the reasons that you should do this, but you're the only one that knows whether or not it makes sense. Right? The third set of metaprograms involves sorting by yourself or sorting by others. Right? So that means, are you more worried about what's in it for me or what's in it for others? Right? Obviously, if you're in a service related business, or if you're in that servant mode, right? Every personality test, when it comes to the church and talks about gifts and all that kind of stuff, I constantly come across in the servant mode, right? I want to know what I want to provide value for other people, right? A little bit of danger in that, right? In that you don't worry about people, sometimes you don't worry about self-care so much, but sometimes you have to worry about what's best for you, right? What's best for you. But do you come from do you sort by self or do you sort by others, right? That's another meta program that we have. Number 4, matchers and mismatchers. We talked about this a little bit yesterday when we were talking about rapport, right? What do you look? Do you look for similarities or do you look for differences? right? And life, right? Do we look for how things are similar, or do we look for how things are different? I guess really it depends on what you're trying to do. But when it comes to dealing with other people, right, we're trying to build rapport, right? People want to do business with people that are what, like them, right? And like them doesn't necessarily mean same color, same ethnic background, same sex, anything. It's what other similarities do we have, right? And so when we're trying to deal with others, we should be trying to focus on coming up with things that match versus things that don't match, right? The next meta program is, what does it take to convince somebody of something, right? When you are trying to convince somebody, there's two different parts. You have to figure out what consistently convinces somebody. You have to find out what sensory building blocks they need to become convinced, and discover how often they have to receive these stimuli. So you think about in your conversation with you have people that are convinced that they're doing a good job because you tell them one time, because of your actions towards them, or do they have to be told over and over, right? Have you ever had those people? I have some difficulty with that, right? I realize that this is a weakness of mine, right? I don't know why. I don't get it, why somebody has to be told over and over and over again, that they're doing a good job, right? I told you, I appreciate what you're doing. Right? I don't know why my wife has to be told every day, right, that I love her. I told her when we got married that I loved her. Why should, it's only been 40 years, right? No, but some people do. Some people require constant validation, right? Others not so much. So you got to figure that out. And figure yourself out too. Do you need constant validation? Are you an external person or an internal person, right? Possibility versus necessity, another meta program. Do you see, I need this, or do you see the possibilities, right? Depending on the situation that you're in, sometimes possibility, if I'm trying to get something done, a specific thing done, I've got a task that is, very complex, right? I need necessity thinking, right? I need to know that this is correct, that this piece is correct to fit into the next piece, and blah blah blah, right? When we start thinking from a position of possibilities, we may lose focus on that, right? But possibilities, man, that's, as an entrepreneur, right, we always have to be looking at possibilities, right? You hear the story of two salesmen put on a desert island, right, to sell shoes, right? And they're put on this remote island out in the Pacific, right? And one calls back to his company and says, "Hey, come get me. Nobody here wears shoes." And the other one says, "Send more shoes. The possibilities are endless," right? Because everyone's barefoot, right? So do you think from a position of necessity or possibility? Your working style, right? A meta program is your working style. Do you work well with others? Do you work better with others, or do you work better independently, right? That's Everybody has their own style, right? Some people don't like, some people love the cubicle thing, and other people want to be in a big conference room with other people, right? So meta programs, again, and this can go back to the DISC, the personality, right? I kind of relate everything back to the DISC personalities, the DISC, right? We all fall into more than one category, but we have our we have our we have our places, you know, our focus, right? So we fall into more than one category, but we have areas where we are stronger, right? So anyway, meta programs. What is your meta program? And how do you identify other people's meta programs, right? Again, I'm going to go back to DISC, right? You need to know what your own personality type is, but you need to know how to identify the personality types of others, right? Not so that you can be phony and be like them, but so that you can learn how does your personality type best align with theirs? How does yours communicate best with theirs? Okay. Tomorrow, chapter 15, how to handle stress, how to handle resistance, and solve problems. This is Unlimited Power by Tony Robbins. Don't forget, the next book that we're going to do, John Maxwell's No Limits, right? Blow the cap off your capacity. You can find this on Amazon. I'll put a link in the Millionaire Mindset Book Club to the Amazon book, and you can go ahead and get that ordered. We will start this as soon as we finish up Unlimited Power, and we're on track to finish up Unlimited Power on the 20, maybe the 31st. No, I'm a week ahead, maybe the 23rd, right? Trying to look at my calendar. 23rd of October. We just got, there's 21 chapters in this book. We just finished chapter 14. So about 6 more days. So next week, tomorrow, and then next week, and we'll be moving on. So if you know somebody that can benefit from the Millionaire Mindset Book Club, 15 minutes to start your day off in a positive direction, right? Have them go to have them go to Facebook and search for the Millionaire Mindset Book Club. And we will see you all tomorrow morning right here, 5:45. Have a great day. Make today the best day ever so far. Bye.